Okay, so hey everyone. I'm trying to blend out my background as much as possible, but I don't know if it's working. But I've never done a wrap up of what I've read in a month because I normally forget so easily and quickly what I've read and what I've done, but I can kind of remember the last three books that I've read, so I want to talk about them. One of the books I don't have with me because it was a library copy, so as soon as I read it, I had to send it back. But the book was called You're So Dead by Ash Pearson, and it was basically a book about where well, where the sister of Peach, so Plum, goes to a remote island and steals, technically, her sister's invitation to a festival that is really, really crap when they go to it, and they kind of get killed off one by one, and they have to figure out who the killer is and why are they all wanting, like, why does this one specific person want them all to kind of die off. So some of them died in really, really good ways. um I will leave a link to my Goodreads in the description so you can go and like look at my profile on Goodreads and you can kind of see my reviews. I did also do a review of that book on YouTube, which is under the folder in the playlist of book reviews. For more into detail about that. But yeah, it's just basically a really good book about an eerie island, kind of spooky, how it was meant to be this really big festival and they get there and it's nothing what was described, and every time a person dies there's like a poem and a note, and they figure out who the killer is, spoilers, and it's one of the ones because he went viral when he was younger because of a video, and because those specific people or bloggers and influencers used that video again to bring it all back up. It really hurt this person, so he wanted revenge for what happens. So the next two books I'm going to talk about is, I think I'm going to talk about this one first. This one was really, really trippy, and I'm so confused after reading it, and even other people are like, what the hell was that ending? Again, I've done a review on this one. It's on Goodreads and it's also on the file under book review. This review is coming out on the 5th. This video will come out after, but if you stumble across this video first, then it's there. There's more detail on it. But this is You Won't Believe Me by this author. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try and like butcher the name or anything. I'm just going to show you. So the cover really drawn me to it. The blurb of first survive, then escape. Willow is alone, confined to her bed with restraints. She can't remember how she got there or how long she's been there. An old lady appears in her room to feed her twice a day. Granny doesn't talk, but Willow can hear her thumping from somewhere beyond the door. It's not Granny's shuffling steps. It's too loud to be Granny's cat. Is it someone, something? Then Granny's cat dies in Willow's room and Granny follows a few days later. Willow will do anything to survive, but freeing herself from her bed is only the beginning because there is someone else in the house. Who is this mysterious tween who calls himself Elijah? And is he the reason she's hostage or the key to her escape? Now, there was so much information in here that probably didn't need to be in here for the plot line. It went from one thing to another. It was really confusing, but also my biggest nag is this goes in part 1, part 2, and part 3. So in part 1, we get to 160 pages, and Elijah is known as Elijah, his full name. We get to the second part and the rest of the book where the author just put E as his name and not the rest of the letters in his name. It was just E. So, for example, let me try and find one. So E never fixed the generator, so it should be Elijah never fixed the generator. So throughout the whole book, every time Elijah's name is mentioned, it's just E, which is so annoying because it's like you used his full name throughout the first half of the book, and then the second half, it was just like, it just felt like you couldn't be bothered to use his full, his the rest of the letters in his first name, and it really bugged me because I've never come across that in a book before that I've read. So that is the first little nag that I've had with this book, and in all honesty, I don't think I'm going to keep it. But basically, the story of is that Elijah is basically a kidnapper and a delusional and a bit cuckoo. Um, he wants revenge because his sister Susie had these. There's a pandemic, and forgotten her name now. Willow's father is like a scientist and stuff, so he comes up with like drugs and helps with that kind of thing. So he wanted to try and run this new kind of drug and vaccine type of thing, but it got contaminated and it went wrong. And unfortunately, Susie wanted to hurt other people, and Susie did kill hers and Elijah's parents, and then try to kill their granny. Yeah, so basically, Elijah came up with a plan that he couldn't get to Willow's father, so Willow was the best bet. Willow has a best friend called August, and throughout the first section of the book, we think that she and August are actually talking, when in a matter of fact, that Elijah was August in the first place. So Willow has never, she's met the real August, but she's never actually talked to the real August. Yeah, so that was quite interesting. That was quite a plot twist. I gave this 4 stars out of 5 just because for every time something juicy really happens, I kind of gave it a star, but I didn't really want to give it the full 5 stars just because of the nags that I had with it. Yeah, so then we find out at the end that this is like a time loop book where Willow sees Susie at the cinema after going on a date with the real August, and then Willow sees Susie and then tells her to bite August's neck, which she does, and then Willow wakes up in bed the next morning and she knows she has to like save the world again. And Elijah was trying to tell everyone that he's been here again and again and that he's done this again and again and that he needs to keep doing this and get out of this loop, and he can't until he's done the right thing, but that this time with this loop that things actually change and that he thinks he's got there, but then we find out at the end, from my understanding, from I think this is what I understand, is that they don't, because she's then back to square one and she's like, I know I need to do this again, and then she tries and find out who Elijah is and there's no like research results. So yeah, it was a really trippy book of kind of them being trapped on like an island, but actually she was in Miami the whole time, and Elijah kind of put people who had wandered onto his property in Willow's car, so Willow thought that was her parents that were actually in there and dead. Which in a way is a really messed up thing for him to do, but then when you kind of find out that he's doing it because he's stuck in like a time loop, it's kind of a horrible thing. As I say, I don't think I'll read this again, but it was a good book for Halloween and kind of a little bit messed up and trippy. So I mean, I gave it 4 stars. I didn't hate it, but I just can't see myself ever picking this up again just because I was kind of confused and I was just like, what the hell is going on? But then we find out that Granny is actually Elijah's granny, and that Willow's grandparents are actually dead. So throughout the book, she slowly gets memories, and then she stumbles into like the locked room that Elijah keeps her out of to find out that he'd actually kidnapped her and held her hostage. So, as I say, I think it was 346, yeah, 346 pages of this book. So yeah, I'll go on to the next one. This one I absolutely love. This is the first book that I have read by this author, and I am so looking forward to reading some more by this author. But as soon as I found out about this book and I read like the blurb and I saw the cover, I was like, I have to have this book. This sounds amazing. And for my ASMR channel, I put it in because like I did a movie themed makeup role play, and I had some movie themed nail polish, and I had this book and I was just like, do you know what, I'm just going to put this book in. But this is Fall Found Dead by Natalie D. Richards. She's done other books like Five Total Strangers, Seven Dirty Secrets, 6 months later. I think she's done one with Lost, but don't quote me on that. This was 317 pages. 317 pages of pure bliss. I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Like, I loved reading it. This really got me back from my reading slump as well. So I'm gonna read the blurb. There were 7 of them working late, then the doors locked. Can we just appreciate the cover? Like, I don't know what it is about the cover. That is Clayton. That has to be Clayton, by the way. But look at the cover, at the movie ticket at the top, at the spine, and at the cover. So my friend actually got this one for me. She was like, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, a couple of books. And I gave her like a list, and I'm so glad she got this one for me because I absolutely love this book. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to add it to my little cupboard of books that I keep. So, at the movie theatre where Joe works, the last show has ended, but the nightmare is just beginning. Tonight, Riverview Theatres is closing forever, the last remaining business in a defunct shopping mall. The moviegoers have left, and Jo and her 6 co-workers have the final shift, a shift that quickly takes a dark turn. First, a stranger arrives with a chilling accusation, then the power goes out, and the manager disappears along with the keys to the lobby doors and the theatre safe, where the crew's phones are locked each shift. Their attention turns to terror when Jo discovers the dead body of one of her co-workers. Now their only chance to escape the murderer in their midst is through the dark, shuttered mall with its boarded up exits and disabled fire alarms. The complex is filled with hiding places for both pursuer and pursued. In order to survive this night, Jo and her friends must trust one another, navigate the sprawling ruins of the mall, and outwit a killer before he kills again. So much detail. The deaths were gory. Like, one of the deaths where one of the girls fell off and kind of hit the floor mangled. It was in so much detail. I was kind of like, I feel really grossed out, but it was so good. But basically, Jo and her workers, Clayton is kind of mentally unstable, deranged, but also, may I add, he had an affair with his wife, with Summer, so one of the other workers who works at the cinema. And I think if I remember correctly, there was some secret that couldn't get out. So Clayton goes on an absolute rampage to kill them off one by one. And Jo and the ones who survive have to like work out how they're going to get out, how they're going to beat Clayton, and how they're going to escape. And they spend the whole night trying to do this, being so tired and knackered. And I was just like, oh, this is so good. But we have a girl who was strangled. Lexi, if I remember correctly, was strangled by Clayton, and they were kind of found, and Summer was all like teary and upset because she witnessed it, and Clayton kind of left her alive, because Summer was the one who kind of had an affair with him. And then we have like somebody else who, I think Summer was the one who like chased Clayton down, and then like he kind of shot her internally, so then she died. And it was just like, what? And they're running around the whole mall like trying to beat Clayton. And then like Jo and like the other male, because I can't remember his name, were like beating the crap out of Clayton, and then they have to go to like different floors and kind of walk around in the dark. And it was so fun to like imagine this story and what the Mal would have been like in the author's head and how it like would have been. But yeah, Jo survives along with Quinn, and two others, and they kind of, Quinn was the one who shot Clayton and killed him in the end. So he went to like some psychiatric like hospital to try and recover from that while he writes a letter to the other ones. But Clayton was kind of a piece of shit, and he was just out to get everyone. Excuse my swearing. I just realised now what I said. But yeah, if you love kind of, not kind of gore, but if you love kind of theatre where the killer is trying to thingy and affairs and stuff like that, then this book is definitely for you. So that was my October read and wrap up, where initially I only got through 3 of my books that I said that was going to be in my to be read for October. I don't think I'm going to do a to be read for November, just because I'm back in that kind of reading slump again, so I don't really know what I want to do. But yeah, definitely highly recommend this one. And then also, if you want kind of time loop trippy, um pandemic zombie kind of thing, this one's for you. But if you love cinema and stuff like that, and a killer on the loose and a big empty mall where they have to try and escape and kind of huddle together, and their friends or their colleagues are dying off one by one, then this book is definitely for you. Thank you ever so much for watching. Subscribe, comment and like, because it helps the channel grow and it helps me get to my dream of doing a book channel. Thank you ever so much.